Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're from. I would like to welcome you to the AUGI General Meeting. My name is Donya Tabor Hanson, and I asked myself why they asked me to introduce the AUGI General Meeting, and then I've been with AUGI for a long time. Let's start back last millennium about things with AUGI and how we got started. There was a little trifold pamphlet in a box of software that I got that had the North American Autodesk Users Group in there, telling about it, $25, you could become a member. And that's where it all started for me, was a little pamphlet out of a box. And AUGI actually started the original Autodesk University. I got excited, went to San Francisco, my first trip to the West Coast, and AUGI ran a very decent little conference. And Autodesk says, hey, look at those people over there. Let's go see what they're doing. Let's take it over. And it became what most of y'all have been coming to since then. Over the years, the North American Autodesk Users Group realized that they were bringing in members from all over the world, and then it became the Autodesk Users Group International. And then a few years ago, it just went straight to AUGI, because why not? Over the years, this group has done things like they've had their own training program, the AUGI training program that we had, that people could do online courses. It started out way back with CompuServe guilds and email threads that you'd be attached to answering questions for each other. And we did it because we needed somewhere to go to find somebody like us, somebody that was using the software that could answer the questions. Because sometimes if you go get help, you get the help file regurgitated to you. We want to know how it really works. So we want to talk to other people that make it work, talk to those that are finding the ways to do the workarounds, to do the things that I need to learn how to do, the ones that can teach me how to do this. And that's where AUGI has been a benefit to most everyone here. And I know that some of y'all know me from, okay, you either met me at CAD Camp or met me at the AUGI booth, or your password to AUGI is all AUGI, because if I change the password, everybody got the same password. So the gig is up on that one. I don't do that anymore. So that's why when they ask about somebody that has been around for AUGI and cares about AUGI, I was the membership chairperson for over 25 years. I cared about the user, the one that's sitting out there by himself. And those are the people that you guys represent, the ones that are out there that just needed to have some place to find like fellowship. And I'm so glad you showed up today, and I'm so glad you're here for the AUGI annual meeting. And thank you for coming.
All right, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. We're going to call the meeting to order for the AUGI annual general meeting. Our agenda today, we're going to present our AUGI executive director and board of directors. We have a tribute to Brian Andreessen and a welcome to our newest board of directors. We welcome our speakers, Sam Lytle, the owner of Beyondware, and Lynn Allen, our global technology evangelist from Dassault Systems. And all of our board members, we have several little presentations for you guys, and we'll come back to, we'll kind of go through this as we go. So. Thank David Harrington for attending today. He is the executive director of AUGI. And here is our current board of directors, myself, Katie King, Frank Mayfield, who is our VP, Todd Rogers, who is our treasurer and AUGI World editor-in-chief, Kimberly Furman, who is our secretary, Chris Lindner, who's as Scott Wilcox and Eric DeLeon, who are all just active, very active members and such huge participants in everything we do. All right, I'm gonna pass off to Todd Rogers for our special tribute to Brian Andreessen.
Guys, welcome. So as you know, Brian Andreessen used to be on the board of directors for AUGI. I met him in 2017 when we were both on stage while people were voting for our induction into the board of directors, and me and him were inducted that day. That's when I met Brian. June the 2nd this year, Brian passed away doing what he loved to do. He was riding his motorcycle, going to meet his daughter at a concert when he had an accident and passed away immediately. Very sad day for us at that time. Ironically, I'd just gotten a text from him a couple of days earlier, stating that he was going to ride from California to Texas and stay with me for the night, and me and him both would ride to AU in New Orleans together. Unfortunately, that never happened, sadly. Brian was also known as Chaotic West Coast. He had a little clique in Los Angeles that was pretty heavy into graffiti and art. He was super into graffiti and art, and he's really good at, he had such a good eye for that type of thing. And many of you might have known him as the writer for Inside Track. Inside Track is now taken over by Sean Bryant. Thanks, Sean, for that. But we just wanted to give our thoughts and love out to the Andreessen family, and we miss Brian a lot, and he was a very, very integral part of AUGI for many, many years, and he's missed very much, and that's it. So I want to introduce our newest board member, Eric De Leon. Eric has moved to Texas in the last couple of years. I got the pleasure of meeting him in person at Tony Carcamo's office up in Dallas, and Eric has been a very essential member and bringing a lot of new stuff to us that we've been trying to get kicked off for quite some time now. And with that, Eric, take it.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Today, I have the honor of introducing one of our AGM guest presenters. So today, I'd like to introduce to you Sam Lytle. Sam is the founder of Beyondware and the host of the We Make Civil Engineering Look Good podcast. Beyondware is industry revolutionizing software that includes Beyond CAD and Beyond Typicals, which are taking the civil engineering and transportation industry by storm. Beyondware is on a journey to make 3D visualization more accessible to those doing civil engineering and transportation projects. I've been following Sam's journey since 2014 as I stumbled upon him on his original podcast when I was trying to learn more about visualization for transportation projects. And ever since then, I've been hooked. I even took his Udemy course back in the day. Since then, I've been watching and listening closely, and I'm amazed at what he and his company and his team has accomplished since then and what they're going to continue to do. Thank you, Sam, for everything you are doing for the industry and for being here today. Sam, the AUGI stage is yours.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate that. Apologies that you've had to listen to my voice for so many hours. Hopefully you can get over that eventually. It really is an honor to be here with you. I'm calling in from snowy Southern Utah today. And as Eric mentioned, my name is Sam Lytle. I am the owner and founder of Beyondware. I'm excited to just share a little bit of my story and how that led me to trying to create better tools for visualization in civil engineering and transportation. So I know the text on this is going to be a little bit small, but I'll just kind of hit the highlight points. So back in 2010, I graduated from University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and started my career with the Nevada Department of Transportation. While doing that, I simultaneously found out that I probably wasn't set out to be an engineer, even though I just got to school for that, and also that I love 3D visualization. And so I, at that point in around 2011, made the goal that I wanted to make 3D visualization part of my career, my journey. In 2014, I started Civil FX, which is a 3D visualization consulting firm. We provided visualization services for engineering firms and transportation agencies in Nevada and throughout the country. I built CivilFX for 6 years and built that to a team of 10 employees. We really tried to revolutionize the interactive visualization using game engines like Unity and Unreal Engine. And during this time, I realized that there weren't a lot of good tools available for visualization, especially for large transportation projects like what we were doing. And so kind of started building some tools that we could eventually provide to others so that they could do their own visualization. In 2020, I ended up selling CivilFX to a company called Parametrics, an engineering firm based out of the Northwest Washington area, and kind of split off and with Beyondware so I sold the services part of CivilFX and split off the software side so that I could continue the journey of making these visualization tools. The first one that we built was called BeyondCAD. And if you're familiar with visualization or architecture, you may have heard of Lumion or Twinmotion, which are wonderful tools in their own right, but they're built mostly for architectural projects. So I wanted to build BeyondCAD to be that 3D visualization engine for the transportation industry. So in 2020 and 2021, we built that tool of BeyondCAD, and we launched that about a year ago in 2021, and that is available today. It won't be kind of the focus of what I'm talking about, but BeyondCAD is already kind of showing some of the efficiencies of if software is built for an industry like transportation, how much easier visualization can become. So while we were building BeyondCAD, I had a whole list of planned features. Remember, I've been obsessing about 3D visualization in transportation for nearly a decade. And so when we started planning BeyondCAD, I just list all the features. This would be so great to have for this product. And one of those features was a 3D typical section creator, because while at CivilFX, we had provided renders. Maybe you think of something like StreamX, our clients would want that, but they'd want that like a nice 3D render of that. And so we would do that service for clients. And so I wanted a feature within BeyondCAD to make it so that engineers could do this themselves. While we were getting further along this process, I realized that didn't need to be a feature within BeyondCAD, but it could be its own product itself. And so we split that out and made that into its own software and call that Beyond Typicals. Again, my background was starting out with the Nevada Department of Transportation, and I would spend time making typical sections in MicroStation, one at a time on different sections of the alignment. I'm sure many of you can relate to doing that. And so we wanted to make this tool where you could go beyond typicals and into something 3D and something interactive. And so just like BeyondCAD, Beyond Typicals is also built on Unreal Engine. We've received a mega grant from Epic Games, the same makers of Fortnite and Rocket League. If you have kids, or maybe you play those games themselves, we have a good relationship with Epic. And so Beyond Typicals was split off and launched earlier this year. And so while it's only been available for less than a year, it's already gaining traction. Just one quick case study for that is that in Minnesota, there was a company called Bolden & Mink. They're an engineering firm. You may be aware of them. And they started using like pre-launch software of Beyond Typicals, and they were really, really excited about it. They actually won a project before we'd even launched the software using Beyond Typicals, this just really easy drag and drop section creator. And so they started telling people about it. They made a proposal for Hennepin County, which is in the Twin Cities area. And Hennepin County was excited about it. And so they started telling their contractors. And so now Beyond Typicals has organically spread throughout the Minnesota Twin Cities area. And I'm excited to announce that just last week, Brian Schroff formerly of Bolden & Mink has now joined us at Beyondware. And so he's going to continue to help me kind of bring this product and show what it can do and help train our users and our customers. So let me just show a few things that make Beyond Typicals special. There are different industries that this can serve, things like urban planning, bridge creation, construction, road and highway, safety design, utility coordination, and more. And I'm not going to go into depth on all of those. I do want to kind of demo the software and show how it works, but you are welcome to learn more about these. You can just go to beyondware.com. if you want to learn more about any of this stuff. If you've used StreamMix, beyond typicals will feel very similar, just on steroids. It does everything that something like StreamMix can do, just fully interactive in 3D and many more features, which I'll be discussing here. So everything within Beyond Typicals can be done very quickly. So Todd Rogers, he's one of our users, and he's been really wonderful providing feedback, part of the beta group. And once he told me, he's like, stuff that used to take me days and weeks now just takes minutes or hours. And that's kind of our goal with this is, again, I ran a 3D visualization studio, and I knew how much time and energy this kind of stuff would take. And we had a whole team that would do the modeling, we would do the visualization, the animation, and we want to make something where you could do all of that all in one tool. And again, my whole goal over the last 10 years has been, how do we make 3D visualization more acceptable and more accessible for transportation and civil engineering, especially as a licensed civil engineer? And that's very possible with Beyond Typicals. Beyond CAD is a very ambitious effort, and we do have users that really use it, but you need to have more technical background. You need to have good 3D models. Beyond Typical is much more accessible, and I've just kind of envied the architectural world because they have so many fun toys to play with in visualization. And I feel like with Beyond Typicals, we're getting closer with this. You can continuously edit, add different assets to your sections, adjust the textures. You can do safety features, animated flashers, and so on. Communication, everything that we do in visualization is we are communicating complicated projects. We're making them easy to understand. That's been a lot of my career, is going to public meetings and trying to communicate. You may not understand the exhibit, the top-down layout, where one ramp is going over another ramp and you don't know which one's on top, which one's on bottom. I've been there. I've been supporting those public meetings. And so with color and these visual graphics, we have more tools to draw attention to those parts of the project that need the most attention. And so we have things like pathway arrows, area highlights, auto and custom labels, and more things. And everything you've seen here has been developed from my experience of doing this, and then also working with users, like what makes sense. And that's why Beyond Typicals has gotten to the point where it is today. Produced for professionals. I mentioned I'm a licensed engineer, and Brian that just joined us, he's a licensed engineer. We are really nerdy about these things that actually matter. We don't want anyone to open up a tool and be like, what is this? This has nothing to do with my industry. I'll go in myself, and I've modeled things like raised pavement markings, safety bumps, all of the flashers, making sure those animate correctly. Each of these things have been done for a specific purpose of, I said safety bumps, I remember rumble strips, specific purpose of making accurate communication of these projects possible. Phasing. So phasing is just so integral because projects aren't static. They evolve over time. There are multiple phases, maybe even different alternatives. And so our phasing system, you can switch between those very quickly in a matter of seconds. Perfect your presentation. Everything within Beyond Typicals you can render out is in images or videos, and then you can put it on your PowerPoint, your website, your news broadcast, your brochure, whatever it is, you can quickly get there. And no prior engineering or visualization experience necessary to use Beyond Typicals. Some of our users are listed here, and we want to make it accessible to everyone. I have small children. They've played around with Beyond Typicals, and they love that they can do it, that they feel like they're being engineers or designers or something like that. And then not only just roads, but you can also do bridges and even more things. Now we have 3D file importing, and we want to make it as useful for projects and engineers as possible. Let me just show a few more of these things. And again, I do want to jump into the product. Urban design and planning. This is a growing need in the world of making efficient use of limited space in urban corridors. And we have all sorts of assets that make this possible and features. You can do before and afters, like you see here. You can do things in 2D or 3D, and you can edit everything on the fly. So let me jump to Beyond Typicals. So this is the software itself. It's a PC application that you download and install, and then you can move around all in real time. So this project is something that we just dragged and dropped really quickly. You can select these sections, you can edit them, and then down here you see our phasing buttons. You can switch between existing and proposed. And so you can see how effective this would be in a meeting with a client or in a public meeting to show, you know, this is the green space vision that we have for this project. And just to do a quick demo, I want to kind of build something on the fly.
Hey, Sam,
Yeah.
this is Daniel Wilson Moore. I just want to alert you that there's a little bit of a lag when you're displaying stuff.
Awesome. Perfect. I'm going to turn off the traffic just to make that a little easier, and I won't move the camera around as much. So I'm going to build out this project. Again, there are over 100 different sections that you can click and drag. You can adjust the striping. Let's add a shoulder. We're going to have some solid striping over here. Let's add a gutter and a curb. Just zoom in a little bit so you can see that. Sidewalk. And then over here on this side, we're going to add a shoulder. Edit the striping. Let's put a curb over here. Flip it by pressing F. And flip this one. So you can see how with a little bit of experience, you can kind of feel like a magician in your meetings with your clients. So we built out this road. If we wanted to, we could add, you know what, let's add a bike lane for fun. Brian, who is more of an engineer than myself, would probably give me feedback that this isn't how things are actually done, but I get to live in a make-believe world where things are the way I want them to be. Let's switch this over to here. And let's add some buildings. You know, let's just make these generic. We don't want to. There we go. So we're going to just do that. And then we push our play button. And now we already brought it to life. So just in a matter of a couple minutes, you can see how quick and easy it is to drag that out and then also make it fully animated, make it phased, and all of those things. So I'm really excited about Beyond Typicals because, like I said, I'm really trying to democratize 3D visualization and make it more acceptable and accessible in our industry in the way it hasn't been previous to now. And I think that is finally becoming possible. Especially, we just launched this version 2, about a month ago. And feel free to reach out to me, linkedin.com/in/Sam Lytle. And I would love to connect with you. If you have questions about this or questions about my story, I love to hear from you. You can also email me, sam@beyondware.com. Also, feel free to check out the software. You can do 30 days completely free. Just go to beyondware.com. So again, I'm really honored just to be included among people like Todd Rogers and Eric DeLeon and call them my friends and be able to present on this stage. And so with that, I thank you, and then I will pass it off to the next presenter.
All right. Thank you, Sam. We really appreciate you being here and speaking at this AUGI meeting. Very excited about your software and Beyondware and everything that they're doing. So thank you. I'm going to turn the time over to Chris Lindner.
All right. Thanks, Katie. And thank you, Sam, for being part of this. That was some really cool stuff. I love seeing software that appears to be intuitive and makes design work fun. It actually makes me want to be a civil designer. That's pretty cool stuff. We appreciate your support for the AUGI community as well. So if you thought that stuff was cool, you just hang on because we're getting ready to go into the financial review and you are going to just be blown away. Okay, maybe not. Well, to be truthful, one of the board members, I won't call his name out, but Frank said, this is the yearly go get a snack segment of the annual, the AUGI general meeting. So go ahead and laugh if you want to, but if we didn't have finances, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. So anyway, all right, so let's take a quick look at the finances for 2022. All right, go ahead, Katie, to the next slide. So this is a pie chart. This is a pie chart, everybody. This is a pie chart of our finances for our income for the past year, and you can see where the bulk of those that income comes in. And if you're quick enough, you've already got a total in your mind. But so there we have a number of resources there that we bring income in, and then this just shows where that income goes. That's fine. And where the expenses go, the commissions and just general operations, and then some of the publications that you guys get. So that's a quick overview. That's all I got for now. Okay, you can regain your composure and come down off of your adrenaline high and enjoy the rest of the presentation. Over to you, Todd.
I'm so glad I was on mute because I was laughing hysterically. Thank you for that, Chris. All right, so AUGI World Review. What can I say, man? We have had a great year, huh? With AUGI World, so many new authors, so many new articles, so many new industries and softwares. I do want to let you guys know we are in search of more content managers. We need content managers for SketchUp, Bentley, visualization, AutoCAD, architecture, MEP, Inventor, all of Revit, and Bluebeam. We did have content managers for a few of those, but they haven't been active for some time. So we are seeking active content managers. What is a content manager? What does a content manager actually do? Basically, you derive content. You go and seek someone that wants to write an article and they say, yes, that's your credit right there. Obviously, they get the article published and their face on it, but you get the little piece on the front page there that says you are a content manager. If you can't drum up content, obviously you can write the content yourself. It's real easy. Well, I say it's real easy. It's hard for me to drum up anything monthly these days. So I do need the help, and that's what the content manager is for, to help me with that. We do have some new content managers. Sean Bryant did take the place of Brian Andreessen, writing the inside track. Thank you for that, Sean. He's probably asleep now over in the UK. I'm not sure. We do have Stephen Waltz. It's our new BIM Sim content manager. We have Craig Swearingen that does our BricsCAD or Brixis content managing, and a new guy that's starting soon, Raphael Testai, with the going to be managing the Dassault systems. He's solid in SolidWorks, right? With that, I'd like to say my email address is todd, TODD.rogers, ROGERS, @augi.com. If you are interested in writing for me, please contact me. I will send you a template to go by, and that's it. You can write me as many articles as you want. I promise I won't get mad at you. And that's it. And we'll have Frank Mayfield coming on.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. And thanks. And hello to everyone. So here I am. While I have the chance, I want to first thank the entire board for all the hard work that we've all done behind the scenes leading up to the AGM today, and for everyone's willingness to take part. Now, with that being said, I probably have the easiest part ever. You see, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing a guest who literally needs no introduction at all. So, my fellow members, I'm so happy to introduce everyone's favorite technology evangelist, the one, and the only Lynn Allen. Lynn, take it away.
Well, that's quite an introduction. I'm pretty sure there are plenty of people that have no clue who I am, but let me just really quickly share my screen. Let's go to, I'd like to actually just do it like this. Let's see if that works. You guys all see that? Are we all good?
All good.
Looks good here.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for that very brief introduction. I am so excited to get an opportunity to present to you. When I left Autodesk, I went to go work for SolidWorks, which is part of Dassault Systems. I thought, oh, I'm going to have to leave the fabulous world of AUGI behind, but now AUGI has graciously opened up their doors to all the different CAD companies. And so I'm so happy that I've had the opportunity in the last year or two to continue working with the land of AUGI, because, hey, my AUGI love goes very, very deep. So today I'm going to be talking to you about embracing the power of the cloud, really kicking up the land of CAD and design and whatnot to the next level. And I don't want you to run away and turn over to your email because you're like, I know everything there is to know about cloud. And cloud is so yesterday and it's so boring. Because I promise you, you're going to learn some things today that I bet you don't know. We're going to make it entertaining, and you're going to hopefully run away with some nuggets that I think that you're going to find very, very useful. Well, we'll see, right? We'll see. So let's now promise me that you're going to let me. There we go. Okay. So first off, do you know why we call it the cloud? So a long time ago, when I worked at Autodesk, in the way before cloud was cool at all, and before people really understood what the cloud was, I was sent off on this worldwide roadshow by Autodesk, and I was not necessarily met with open arms, let me just say. And I had to do a lot of explaining what was the cloud. Okay, we don't need to do that anymore. You guys totally get that whole concept. But it was pretty challenging, let me just say. But now you guys all get that. But I do know, after doing tons of research, that a lot of you probably don't know why we call it the cloud. Have you ever wondered that? Why don't we call it, I don't know, the ceiling, or if I look out the window, the squirrel, or why don't we call it the carpet or rain or whatever? Have you ever thought about that? Well, let me tell you why, just in case you don't know what to talk about over dinner tonight. I'll find some very exciting conversation. Well, we call it the cloud because of this gentleman right here, Mr. or Professor, if you want to call him, John McCarthy. He was a professor at Stanford. I say was because he passed away a few years ago at the age of 81. And he's known as the father of cloud computing. And he made this very profound statement back in 1961. He said that someday computation would be organized as a public utility. And you're like, Lynn, what does that have to do with the cloud? Please hold. Imagine if you could access your software the same way that you do your utilities. And that is one of the things that one of the comments that he made. So think about it. We don't all have our own personal power plant, right? I mean, I doubt you do. When we want to access utilities, our electrical utilities, we plug in, right? We can access the power plant wherever it is, hopefully far away, and we don't need them anymore. We can unplug them or simply turn it off. And this was the concept that he was trying to get pulled together. And now he didn't necessarily reference electricity. He was a little more focused on the telephone or telephony industry, as it was known back then, and that very complex network. And just so you know, in the early days of the telephony industry, that chart that they would use and talk about, you'll never guess what it was called. It was called, you got it, it was called the cloud. And so when he talked about the future and he talked about this concept of a network where we would all be connected via computers, which eventually became the internet, he referred to it as the cloud, and that terminology really caught on. And so when they had to come up with an icon and flowcharts to represent the internet, what did they choose to use? They choose to use the cloud. So there's a little bit of background for you why we call it the cloud. And for those of you who have ever used AutoCAD or DraftSight, a little more trivia for you. He's also known as the father of artificial intelligence. And he actually wrote the very first the very first program that allowed you, software program that allowed you to play chess against the computer back in the 60s. Some of you, I don't know, maybe you remember that, or I'm sure you might have heard about it at some point in time. That was a big deal. And he also wrote the very first AI programming language, which, hang in there, which was Lisp. So if you know how to Lisp at all, you have him to thank, or I don't know, maybe him to hate. That's completely up to you. So I am actually going to give me a second here. I'm going to try to turn off. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. There we go. I can't stand looking at myself while I talk. There we go. Plus, there's only one other person who's on video, which is David Kingsley. Did you know that, David? We can all see you. So I'm looking at you, David, and it's distracting me. So I got to turn it off. So there you go. So, what does the cloud look like? We know, of course, it doesn't look like warm, fluffy clouds. You and I both know it looks like this, right? These server farms, which are all over the world. Now, when I first started talking about the cloud, I would say, hey, there's 10 million servers out there that represent the cloud. Well, now, of course, the number is up to like 90 million servers. That was like last week. Maybe it's 91, maybe it's 100. Who knows? The number goes up so quickly. But these are the servers that you can access, these super servers, so that we're no longer limited to the hardware that your boss decided that you were worthy of, or that your budget could handle, or you personally could handle, right? Someday we won't even think about our hardware. We're going to be totally all into the cloud. We will. Imagine that. Some of that, for some of us, that makes us a little nervous. So in Lynn's world, there's three main reasons to use the cloud. There are a lot of reasons to use the cloud, but I think these are the three primary reasons to use the cloud, especially in the land of CAD. So the mobile aspect, the collaboration aspect, we're going to talk a little bit of power of the platforms, because let's face it, platforms are the word of the day. You heard about it at Autodesk University. At my company, we've been using a platform for many, many years. And then by far, the most valuable aspect of the cloud in my mind is the infinite computing power. So we'll talk a little bit about that. All right, reason number one, mobile. Access to your data anytime, anywhere, and on any device. You're very familiar with this. Like if you've got a phone, you totally get it. Many people are shifting over to tablets and ditching their workstations. I can't imagine doing that. But at some point in time, we might. The tablets of today are equal in computing power to the workstations of 10 years ago, right? They're super, super powerful. And, if you take a look at your smartphone, it is a million times. It is a million times more powerful than the Apollo 11 guidance computers. That's impressive, right? That's something that you can't even imagine. 1 million times. That's impressive. And then I know I have an Apple Watch. I don't know about you, but I have an Apple Watch, and it has more brain power than the Mars rover. That's hard to believe in a teeny tiny little watch. So the capabilities that we have in our technology is causing more and more of us to move to mobile devices, and especially people that are coming out of college, right? They love the whole aspect of mobile. Now, there are a lot of programs out there that run on mobile devices. There's CAD programs that run out there. At my company, we have one called 3D Creator that allows you, it's a very robust 3D solid modeling program. You can take existing, CAD modules, you can take SolidWorks files and things like that, bring them in and work from them, or you can draw from scratch. But nevertheless, very powerful, the whole aspect of mobility when it comes to the cloud. Okay, reason number two, collaboration, which we all definitely realized when the pandemic hit, the value of the cloud and collaboration, because we no longer could just go down the hall to talk to somebody about, a design aspect or something like that. We were all stuck at home, and we had to rely on the cloud in order to collaborate. Now, you might have one of these programs to collaborate over the internet. Some of you are probably still working remotely as a result of the pandemic, or maybe you were fortunate enough to already be remote. Now, at my company, we have the 3D Experience platform. We were already set because we were already in a very remote environment because of this particular platform. And as I said to you, platforms are kind of, the word of the day. A platform basically allows you to have all different types types of applications in one location, and you can set up an entire environment. And 3D Experience Platform is exactly that. We live in this one world, and you don't have to be a CAD designer to live happily ever after in the 3D Experience Platform. We have all, everybody in our company lives and dives in this particular platform. And it's a very different thought process. So as opposed to what most people do when they come into work in the morning, which, most people, what's the first thing you do? You get up, you go into your office, whether it's remote or it's a physical office that you go to, and you check your email. I don't know who this guy is, that he only has one email in his inbox. We all hate him. We all have a lot more than that, right? But that's what we've been doing for how many decades? Do you know how old email is? 50 years, over 50 years. The first email was sent by a guy named Ray Tomlinson in 1971. And I always say to myself, who did he send an email to? It's like the guy who stole the first fax machine. Who did he sell it to? So anyway, it's a pretty old mechanism for communication and collaboration, right? It's so linear. I write an email, I send it off. It's literally mail. Very, very linear. Now in the 3D Experience Platform, it's very, very, very collaborative, where you're talking, very similar to what you're used to in some of the other apps like Slack, but it's in a one-stop shop, one particular place. I come in the morning, I don't have to go to my email. I can walk into this platform and I'll see that I have some notifications. I have some tasks that I need to get finished. Somebody pinged me on something particular they want my feedback on and things like that. It's a very different environment, not nearly as linear. We can have conversation that happens, very, very simultaneously. It's pretty impressive environment. Anyway, you're going to hear more and more about platforms. There are a lot of other advantages to platforms. I cannot talk about them all today in my short period of time. However, this is one of my favorites. My boss talks about the death of file types all the time. My boss, he was the CEO of SolidWorks, and now he is executive vice president of 3D Experience Works, which includes SolidWorks. And he is always saying the file types are going to go away. Let's face it, nobody likes file types. We just have them ingrained in our mind. Would you be sad if we didn't have to ever think of another file type as long as we lived? No, you would not be sad. I want to focus on my design, on my model, whether I'm designing a bridge or a house or a building or a motor. I don't want to think about file types. I don't care what the file type is. When you wander into the world of a platform, the platform takes over and it worries about file types. It makes sure all those files can talk to each other, and you don't have to worry about any of that. So that would not break your heart, would it? So you'll hear more about platforms. You'll hear more about the death of file types. And there are many, many more reasons why platforms like the 3D Experience Platform is something that you should start to think about, regardless of whose platform you decide to go with. All right, this is my favorite reason: infinite processing. So the cloud is by far the most valuable because it can process large amounts of data with multiple variables in a short period of time, unlike our desktop computers. All right, and this is where the real power is. And I watch a lot of Dateline. I admit it, it's a problem. And you don't have to watch Dateline if you ever watch, CSI or any of those crime shows, especially the true crime shows. You will hear them talk about the CODIS database, right? This is where all the DNA of the bad guys gets put up into the CODIS database system. And then if there's a crime scene and they get DNA, they load it up and they try to find a match, right? So this has only been around since 1998, right? Before that, the only DNA systems that existed were statewide. Actually, they started countywide and then they went statewide. And the computers, without the cloud, they just weren't able to match up the DNA because the DNA is so complicated, so many variables, very, very complex. Forget it. In fact, if you were a bad guy, if you did a crime in Arizona and they got your DNA, and if you left the state and you went to another state, like you went to Texas and did another crime, those guys in Texas would never know that you did a crime anywhere else because the databases never went beyond state walls. Well, FBI got involved, created this nationwide database. Cloud comes along with its amazing capabilities. And as the cloud becomes more and more robust, the internet gets stronger and stronger. We're going to have a more advanced system of CODIS, Anyway, you know all about that. That's the perfect example of where the cloud can come into play. However, you guys aren't bad guys. You're not committing crimes. What's something a little more relevant to you? I bet some of you can relate to this picture. I actually took this picture when I was in South Africa at a university. And this is a poor student who doesn't want anybody to mess up their rendering. Can you relate? Back in the day, especially before computers were as robust as they are now, just regular computers, right? Renderings could take hours, could take days, it could take weeks. And some of you might remember render farms as well. This is the perfect scenario for the cloud because it's masterful at dealing with very complex data. Now, this happens to be one of our programs that was used to create this beautiful rendering. I can't tell what's real and what's a rendering, right? That's the magic of these advanced software products. But you always want to do something like rendering, which is very sophisticated, lots of variables in the cloud. And this is where I also like to mention that, in case you didn't know, that over half of the images in the IKEA catalog are renderings and not photos of actual objects. And that is why whenever you get something at IKEA and you can't put it together, it's because it probably was never put together to begin with. I'm just saying. So, and last but not least, simulation. Perfect. This is something that, more and more of us are getting into that we never would have got into before because it was too complicated. Our computers couldn't handle it. We all have access to the cloud. We all can wander into the world of simulation. You should never buy a simulation product that just runs on your desktop. It should always be something that runs in the cloud. Now, we have one called Simulia, but there's plenty of, there's different ones out there. We love ours, of course. But if you're doing energy analysis, if you're doing, testing wind, HVAC, how it's going to actually work, stress tests, anything that requires complex analyses, definitely you need to be using a cloud app. We want you to use ours, of course, but nevertheless, all right. So those were the three main reasons to use the cloud. Mobile collaboration, keep your eyes out for the land of platforms. That's going to make your life a lot better. And of course, the most important one, in my view, the infinite computing power, not powder. And on that note, please embrace the cloud. That'll help you take your designs to new heights. Thank you for inviting me to present. If you have any comments or you want to contact me, there's my email address, lynn.allen@3ds.com, and my Twitter handle. Thank you for inviting me to present. Over to you.
Thank you, Lynn, so much for being here today. We really appreciate your input and that was pretty cool information. You gave us some really great, things to share with other people, some kind of cool little things. So we really appreciate that.
My pleasure. I'm going to go away now.
Thank you. We'll turn the time over to Kim Furman.
All right. Well, first of all, I just want to thank the rest of the board for making me go after Lynn Allen. I mean, really, what a tough act always to follow. Lynn, thank you so much for taking your time to be here today. Always a pleasure. And even though we now work for competing companies, you are still my CAD hero. And of course, always part of the AUGI family. So on to our volunteer recognition and partner appreciation. Go ahead to the next slide. Of course, AUGI is completely volunteer. None of us are paid for the time and effort that we put into working with AUGI. I really just appreciate each and every one of you who has volunteered. This includes our board of directors, our authors, our content managers, as Todd talked about earlier. We all have full-time jobs. We all have a vested interest in keeping AUGI going. And really, it has nothing to do with financial investment. It is just that we have a passion for helping others in the industry. I basically grew up with AUGI. I remember NOG. I'm showing my age a little bit. And AUGI has always been very important to me. So thank you to our volunteers. And if you are interested in helping in any way, please reach out to one of us on the board. I think there's more information about that later. Next slide. And to our partners, of course, even though we are a volunteer organization, it does take money to run this organization. And so thank you to all of our sponsors, our what's the word I'm looking for? Our benefactor, Autodesk. Phew, lost it there for a minute. And of course, all of our other sponsors and advertisers. Please check them out on our website, also in AUGI World and Hot News. And so now I believe I will turn it over to Chris.
All right, thanks, Kim. So next we're going to get into the AUGI wish list, and we all have room for improvement, and Autodesk software is no different. And if you're like me, well, let me just ask this. How many of you have a running list of, boy, I wish AutoCAD would do this features? I know I do. I keep it in Evernote. I keep it updated religiously. It's just one of those things. And maybe it's just a way to complain about stuff, but that's just what I do. So the AUGI wish list, I know for a fact that Autodesk and the AutoCAD product teams pay attention to the AUGI wish list. There's a number of features, as a matter of fact, in AutoCAD right now that are a result of the AUGI wish list. Here's a couple of them: file tabs, layer properties by viewport, transparent hatches. Hang on a second, Katie. Hang on. I'm not there yet. I'm still talking about features that are in AutoCAD now from previous wish lists that have been presented to AutoCAD. Multi-leaders is a result of AUGI's wish list. The hide and isolate objects is a result of the AUGI wish list. So it's not a wasted effort to put your ideas into the AUGI wish list. Now, like I said, I've got a running list of things. It's one of those things where I come across an idea, I want to capture it so that I can put it in an AUGI wish list later. I don't have time to do it at the moment, but at least I capture it somewhere. So make sure you put those ideas into the AUGI wish list so that we can continue to benefit and make AutoCAD the better product, or Revit for that matter, the better product that we use. So, okay, let's look at the top 10 for 2022 that we're going to present to the AutoCAD product team. First one on the list is, well, number 10, we're going backwards, is join individual hatches. Basically, this is just a way for the user wants a way to combine, if they've got multiple hatches that are all the same scale and pattern, whatever, they want to combine those into a single hatch. Interesting idea. The next one is multi-core processors, better support for multi-core processors within AutoCAD. The next one is selecting, they want the selection window to be parallel to the current UCS. Fantastic idea. Whether you're using 3D or 2D, doesn't really matter. If you're doing stuff changing the UCS, there's some real benefit to having that selection window align with that. Number 7 on the list is the inclusion of dynamic blocks inside of multi-leaders. That would be so nice to use. Unfortunately, right now, when you put a dynamic block in a multi-leader, that dynamic block is kind of static and you lose the benefit of those dynamic properties. So that would be a great enhancement. Number 6, automatically differentiate manually edited dimensions. A dimension can look legitimate, but it would be nice if there was some type of indicator that would let you know that there's been an override to that. Maybe you don't want to know, but I know that would be worthwhile to know when you're doing your review of a drawing, whether or not those dimensions have been overridden or not. All right, number 5, restored performance. AutoCAD is continually making improvements in performance, and I'm sure if you've used AutoCAD for a while, yeah, there's some areas that are not running as best as you might expect, but it is definitely improving. And I know working with the beta team and the community council, the next release of AutoCAD is going to continue in that pursuit of improved performance. So they're making strides there, and that's encouraging to see. All right, number 4. A listing of blocks and their properties. This user was just basically saying it would be nice to have like a centralized block manager palette where they can manage all of the blocks that's in their drawings. Maybe see a tree list view of the blocks that are in the drawing and any nested blocks inside of those. Seeing a thumbnail, maybe it shows properties of those blocks, whether it's an annotated block, what its insertion units are, maybe the descriptions that's been assigned to that block. Lots of ideas there. Just maybe the way to create this one-stop shop for all of your block management functions. All right, number 3, set OSNAP priority. If you're like me, you've got a favorite list of object snaps. Nearest is not one of those, by the way. A favorite list of object snaps, and sometimes they compete with each other. And it would be nice, according to this user, and I think I would agree, that where you could say, this is an object snap that I want it to default to before another one, maybe lower on the list. So interesting idea. Number 2, AutoCAD's help needs more help. Well, again, that, like the performance thing, I think that's something that Autodesk is always pursuing, is getting that help documentation. They've definitely made strides over the years. So hopefully that will continue. And wait, what is that? I hear a drum roll. Okay, here we go. Tip number 1 is floating paper space. We've had floating model or floating drawing tabs for a couple years now. And this is just a request for the ability to maybe have model space on one monitor and paper space on another monitor. Interesting idea. I could see that being beneficial, be able to see those two environments at the same time. So there you have it. There's our top 10 wishes for 2022. We'll present those to AutoCAD at Autodesk as a formal list, and then cross your fingers and see what happens. But keep those wishes coming in. All right, thanks. Eric, it's all yours.
Welcome, everybody. Yeah, I'm excited to introduce something that has been on the AUGI's wish list, I guess, for a few years, is the introduction of AUGI World, the podcast. So this podcast, if you want to flip the screen, this podcast is for CAD BIM professionals, created by us as an organization, and going to be eventually you guys. Each episode will explore topics that will help build your skills, advance your career, and to be your main CAD BIM content hub to stay up to date with industry trends and software updates. As we look for topics to share with you and others in the community, we really want to just remind everybody that AUGI is no longer just exclusive to Autodesk. So if there's anything outside of Autodesk, that's within the CAD BIM realm or beyond, because I get sometimes having things outside of our industry can give us inspiration to do it inside that you think is relative. Please let us know. You can send us an email at awpodcast@augi.com if you have any ideas or you want to be featured in a future episode. AUGI World, the podcast, is live. The first 5 episodes are there. We have a welcome episode 1, and then the Lynn Allen AUGI World 20th anniversary interview that's on YouTube. We have converted that into 4 episodes of the podcast to give it 5 episodes that are currently available today. And so you can go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Anchor FM, do a search for AUGI World, the podcast, and subscribe today. Stay tuned for more as we come up with more ideas and reach out to others to interview. And so, yeah, that's it from the podcast side. So now more from Katie King.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for all of the participation today. I want to thank all of our board members and our speakers. And I'd like to give everyone here the opportunity to get involved. What can you do? Help with a podcast. If you have an idea for a podcast, if you're here and you've written an article and you want to make your article into a podcast, we'd love you to do that. Write an article. Be a content manager. Share AUGI posts on social media. All right. If you see one of us post something, share it on social media. We are on LinkedIn. We are in Instagram. I even forget all. Frank's going to know all of them, but we have social media platforms for AUGI everywhere. So share our posts. And if you have ideas, any other ideas, contact us. You can email us at getinvolved@augi.com. And there's that email address for anyone who has any ideas about ways that you can help AUGI. And just like Kim said, we're all volunteers. We don't get paid to do this. We're just here because we love to be here. We love to help everyone. And we want to make a better world for all of the people using CAD and BIM. What to look for in 2023? AUGI World Live. This is something we've been working on. We wanted to do it this last year, but we had some technical challenges and some changes in our board and a whole bunch of things going on. But this is our goal, is to have what we call an AUGI World Live. And this is a virtual live user group meeting. We also, I just want to mention, the podcast that Eric was just talking about. Eric has done an amazing job getting the podcast up and running. So take the opportunity to jump in there and look at that. We are in discussions on enhancing the AUGI experience. More to come from AUGI as we seek feedback on what you want and need. And we wanted to just open up for, we don't have a ton of time, but maybe a minute or two. If anyone has any questions that's pressing, you're welcome to put it in chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and speak up, we'd love to hear it. We only have a couple of minutes, but if anyone has questions, then go ahead. And I see a question on ADN. Does one of our board members want to mention anything about that? I mean, I don't think anything has changed on ADN. Kim?
No, no changes. It's still an option as far as the professional membership is concerned.
Yeah, ADN stands for Autodesk Developer Network, by the way. Someone was asking about that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kim. And Steve Bennett, yes, I know you. Hey, how are you doing, Steve? He wants to know, he wants me to talk about how AUGI is no longer connected to Autodesk. And I think, let me rephrase that. AUGI still has a relationship with Autodesk. However, we are a CAD and BIM user group. We are, we no longer have a the direct tie. We're no longer only an Autodesk user group. We've now opened our arms and our doors to anyone who wants to share anything that might help the CAD and BIM users. Any of my board members want to say anything in regards to that? Okay. So I have another question here. When will the live meetings kick off, and will it meet on Zoom? So one of our technical challenges we had was trying to figure out the correct platform for it. I do think that that Zoom is going to be the home for this. Our goal is going to try to kick this off in the early spring, I would say March, April timeframe. So that's kind of our goal, but we will be sharing more about that. But that is our goal. And I love how Danya says, all AUGI for all CAD and BIM. Absolutely.
Bob, do you have a question? I see a hand raised.
Yeah, I have a question. I talked to Katie about this at the Autodesk University last, and does the board looking at in the future having a small conference, get together in person? That's my question.
So
yeah, we weren't going to tell you, Bob. Sorry, but yeah, we are. Go ahead,
it's
Katie.
Definitely something we've talked about, Bob. After you brought that up with me, I've brought it up with our board. We've talked about it multiple times. It's definitely something we would like to do. I think we obviously would need sponsors for an event like that. So if there's anybody here who wants to jump in and volunteer with us to help us get that going, we anticipate it would probably be a year or two before we could really do something like that, as far as like gathering sponsors and planning that type of event. But it's definitely something we are all interested in. So I'd love to hear more. Who would be interested here in like a live event where we're in person.
Well, you know, I would.
I know, Bob, me too. I would definitely, you know, be interested in that. All right. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and I know I can see the questions kind of slowing down. Sean, thank you. I see your comment on you'd love to help set it up. I see a lot of people are interested. Brian says there's this great event moving back to Vegas next November. Yeah, I'm not, that's a tricky one associating with AU, combining with that, but we'll be talking about that more. So, all right. We'll go ahead and Sean says we can do better than AU. I agree. We can do better than AU. I absolutely agree. I want to thank all of you for your time today. And we'll go ahead and can I get a motion to adjourn from the board?
Sure,
I'll make a
Katie.
motion.
All right.
I'll second Chris's motion. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Awesome. Thank you all. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday season and just glad to be here.
Thanks for everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Well done,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Thank you so much.
Hope to
Appreciate
see
you all.
soon.
And
Bye.
especially our guests, Sam and Lynn. Thank you so much. It was fantastic presentations.
And
Bye,
Don,
everybody.
Pleasure. Thank
And of course,
you.
Danya.
of course.
And
It wasn't a
Don.
presentation as it was.
Good to see
Bye,
everybody.
Mama.
Thank you.
Bye.